time will tell, okay? As soon as United States dip into recession, I think they will have very different tone. And we're looking for the Fed to pivot, and then the precious metal will really take off. Historically, actually, gold and silver are doing well, even the Fed is raising interest rate. If you look at the old, historical data, and in particular, if the Fed is raising interest rate and China is cutting interest rate, gold almost always do well.
Switch towards a life of financial freedom. The Lode Wallet helps you make the right switch by giving you access to a more reliable, inflation-resistant money you can trust. Money backed by silver and gold that empowers your businesses to eliminate expensive fees and settle payments instantly, and preserves your wealth for generations to come. Take back control. Download the Lode Wallet today and begin building your honest money portfolio.
All right, welcome to Inside the Markets, flagship podcast at stockpulse.com. And with me today, I've got Chen Lin, and he runs chenspicks.com. I'm excited to talk to this guy here. I've been watching a few things here, Chen. I know you give a chat here at the VRIC up in Vancouver here, I guess, about a month ago or so. And you talked about how the Silver Institute had it wrong. So I want to get into that. But before we do, let's pull back here. What's the big picture looking like from Chen Lin's perspective?
Oh, we're living in a very interesting time. Okay, the United States, Europe already is into recession. United States is heading into recession, and then Fed sounds very hawkish. I think that's all they can do. They sounds very hawkish. Let's see what they do. Okay, they raise interest rate by 75 basis points. They're signaling maybe another 75, and then they will cool down. Time will tell, okay? As soon as United States dip into recession, I think they will have very different tone. And we're looking for the Fed to pivot, and then the precious metal will really take off. Historically, actually, gold and silver are doing well, even the Fed is raising interest rate. If you look at the old, historical data, and in particular, if the Fed is raising interest rate and China is cutting interest rate, gold almost always do well. Okay, part of it is China is more, outside the United States among all the emerging world. And we have actually, I done a Kitco interview a few months ago. I look at the historical data. It's always do that because eventually the Fed will pivot. And then instead of raising interest rate, they will be, maybe cutting interest rate sometime next year.
Yeah, let's talk about that. They've already signaled that. And what kind of destruction we'll get down here? It's early in the game here. I'm actually surprised they went through with it, but I guess they did it. So what will happen? What will cause them to reverse course?
Oh, recession, the pain, and unemployment rate, they're looking at employment data, but that's a lagging indicator, right? So right now we already seen many indications a recession is coming, right? We have a Q1 already negative GDP in the United States, right? I don't know whether you live in the US or Canada, but Q2 could well be negative again. And then you had two negative GDP. That's theoretically we're in recession right now. Okay, the Q2's GDP will come out in August. Will be very interesting to see. Okay, the August after, if we are really in recession, what the Fed will say after that data.
Yeah, so you mentioned lagging indicators, so they're always behind here. So you've got Janet Yellen talking about how recession might be a possibility. So and the White House certainly parroting the same lines here when basically we know damn well we're in a recession now. So I guess what does Powell say when he does reverse course, and then take that back to what that's going to do to the metals?
Right. He already reversed once. Right. Last year, he was talking about we were never, ever thinking about raising interest rate. That was like not long ago. And now he said, oh, we need to fight inflation. Inflation too high. We have to cool it down. And now all these, we see the lumber, everything is going down except oil. Oil is for the reason of, the war in Ukraine, right? So Biden is visiting Saudi. He's begging the Saudi crown prince to pump more oil. Maybe he will. I mean, he will get what he wants. I mean, I do not know. Those are out of the Fed control. That's my. They raise the interest rate. There's so much leverage in the system in the United States. I think we were heading to recession for sure. As soon as the indicator shows we are heading to recession, the unemployment rate will go up. Remember, Fed do mandate also stable employment. As soon as they see that, they can say, okay, no more rate hike, right? So they will step up and then, we need a cut rate, we need stimulus. So we'll see. I think the next few months will be very interesting. I have to say that.
Yeah, let's shift gears here into we deal with the junior mining sector a lot here, and they've fallen on hard times. Metals. I think if you'd have told a lot of these guys 5 years ago the metals where they were, they'd be pretty dead shocked and probably disappointed that most of them are on their lows or close to. I think a guy like you would say they're on sale. You did a chat at the Silver Institute, and you talked about how they might have it wrong here, or excuse me, at the VRIC on the Silver Institute, how they have the demand wrong. Did some translation here with your numbers. Why don't you run through that for the audience here, because you paint a completely different picture about how silver is going to be in demand. I would imagine that'll find its way down the supply chains, and these juniors will eventually get a lift.
Yeah, the silver, the largest industrial use of silver is solar panel. Okay, I'm just zooming in on the solar panel. I don't look at other perspectives. Other could be impacted by the economy, but due to EV, due to all the other reduced carbon, other demand are going up as well. But I'm just look at solar panel. Solar panel is right now, it's about 120 million ounce per year, 120 million ounce a year out of 1 billion production. Okay, so silver supply demand is about balanced. Okay, people can say there's some surplus, some deficit. Depends on if you want to see the silver investment, ETF investment. I'm very conservative. I don't see the silver ETF investment as a real demand. Okay, if you remove that, we may have a little bit surplus. My point is, the Silver Institute believe this year's silver demand in solar panel will increase only by 12% after 13% increase last year. I think very different picture. I see very different picture from my sources in China. The largest solar panel, manufacturing in the world and usage in the world. We're looking at 50% increase in solar panel, 50. Okay, if you look at any statistic in China, all these raw materials going down because of the Fed is tightening. A few things are going up. Alkaline is going up. If you know alkaline is used for the solar panel processing because the demand is so strong, the glass used as solar panel still going up. The silicon, the special silicon, still very strong, still going up. So everything associated with solar panels still going up right now because of physical demand, not because of imaginary, people or investors pile into it because of real physical demand. So if China's demand going up 50%, if I'm off by 50%, say 25%, the silver used in solar panel will still be much, much higher than Silver Institute estimate of 12%. Plus, there's a very important junction happen. We are looking at history right now because as we've seen, if you go to the Silver Institute forecast, right, the silver loading, silver use per solar panel is going down constantly in the past decade, always going down. But I think we're going to flip it. All my sources, the next generation solar panel, which is they start deploying, will use 50% more silver. How about the next one? They said that the third generation called the HJT that will use 3 times more silver. Okay, so you can see the loading factor per solar panel is also going up. Well, the solar panel demand is going up. So the two things actually synchronize going up. It's never happened in the history. So I see, my estimate is very, very conservative. I see the silver usage in the solar panel will go way up. Not this year, not next year, but we probably will have a bull market in the next decade. So that's why my thesis was the silver is a new lithium. Okay, lithium people try to use replacement for the lithium-ion battery for decades. They still couldn't find a replacement. Silver, people try to find a replacement because it's the best conductor. People try to use different technology to replace silver in solar panel. They couldn't. And then we are coming to a junction that in order to increase the solar panels efficiency, the silver, we need a lot more silver. The next generation it's not exactly next generation. Next evolution will be 50% more. And next generation will be 3 times more. And then how about the next? I was talking to people about after that. If you really want to drill into the technology of solar panel, the theoretical maximum efficiency for the current solar panel, one single layer, is about 35%. But there is another, which there are new technology, which there's some startup working on that. They use multiple layer. So theoretically, you can increase to 80%, but there will be much more expensive. They will use at least 10 times more silver. But you say, oh, it's so expensive. Who is going to use it? But if you want to use it on Tesla, because the roof is limited space, you need as high efficient as possible. So they're willing to pay for a higher price. And then if you want to make your cell phone chargeable, right, the size is very limited. So in those cases, people willing to pay premium, and then that they will use a lot more silver because of multi-layer approach. That's the next generation. So what I see from current generation, you do evolution, which called a TOPCon, you will 50% more, and then next generation will be 3 times more. And after that will maybe 10 times more silver. So the silver usage just going to explode. Well, the solar panel is taking off. We are looking at. Time will tell. Okay, maybe a few years back we have a drink, and then we'll see now it's a turning point for the silver. Basically supply demand, especially in the solar panel.
Well, we're on record. I'll hold you to that drink, and we'll run through it. And I tell you, you got a lot of silver bugs that are going to be very happy to hear what you're talking about here. So let's take that down to the supply chain here, Chen, and talk about some of these juniors. Hard times. There's not a lot of capital in the sector. You painted a picture that a lot of your friends in Hong Kong have been on the sidelines, maybe might get fired back up again. Talk about where you see kind of the overall junior mining sector.
Yeah, absolutely. The silver junior has been hit hard. There's a lot of opportunities. Actually, I'm not tell you just to dive into junior right now because we have right now it's June, right? Mid of June, and then we have a summer ahead of us. So next few months, I think you can gradually pick up, maybe put some low bids, stink bid underneath that, see if you got a hit. There's a lot of very good companies out there. I would go for the silver juniors with a good balance sheet, which means they don't need to raise money right now, or they just recently, so they can run for the next 6 to 12 months without raising money. And then they have some catalysts coming in the next few months. Those are the good company. And then, nobody cares in the summer. That's great. We buy it, right? So you can buy all these juniors and penny on the dollar when the market turns. Those can really pop the most. If you remember, there was a silver squeeze about a year and a half ago. I remember some of the stock I used to own jumped from like 40 cents to $1 something. It's just in a few days, right? So if you capture those squeeze, you can make a lot of money. Also at that time, I also owned First Majestic. They were squeezing on First Majestic, make a very good money for me and my subscribers. So I would say, you put a diversified silver portfolio. There are also silver ETF. I don't mean you need to buy all juniors. There's a silver junior ETF and silver minor ETF. You can buy those as well. So my point is you want to increase your silver exposure until the typically seasonal strong months. That's starting September coming, right? So you have a few months to gradually back up the track, to buy a series of silver ETF, silver majors, and silver juniors, and have yourself fully exposed to the potential silver upside.
So what do you like? You've got a dollar bull, and you've got a commodity bull. That's unheard of. Well, will that break at some point, or?
That's tough. I mean, if we have a depression, I can say silver will get hurt, right? Because all the other industrial demand will go down. I mean, I have to say that. We're just assuming if we have a relatively shallow, recession, and then Fed will pivot, that will be the best time, and then silver demand pick up. That will be the dream situation. And this time next year will be a very, very different tone. We'll be celebrating. We'll be opening up a champagne and celebrate. So,
this is a dangerous jungle here we're trying to maneuver through here, Chen. So I guess let's talk about you a little bit and how people get in touch with you if they want some advice or want to see what Chen Lin's doing.
Oh, yeah. And I'm running my family's asset. I also write a little newsletter on the side. It's a website at chenpix.com. And most of my subscribers are, funds and high net worth individuals. So that's generally my audience.
Okay. Well, Chen, we'll look forward to checking back in and seeing how some of your picks go there. And there's some very interesting information there on silver usage and demand here. So appreciate you taking the time. That's Chen Lin, chenspicks.com. Chen, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.